The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and shattered dreams. Maya Chen sat in the rigid plastic chair, her 3-day-old daughter asleep in her arms, wrapped in a hospital blanket, because Maya hadn't been able to afford the cute going-home outfit she'd seen other mothers use. Through the window, she could see her mother's Mercedes pulling away from the parking lot, not slowing down, not looking back, just leaving. 24 hours ago, her mother had stood in this same room and delivered an ultimatum with the cold precision of a surgeon making an incision.
If you're enjoying this deep dive into the story, hit the subscribe button and let us know in the comments from where in the world you are watching from today.
Give the baby up for adoption and come home, or keep her and you're on your own. We will not support this mistake. We will not enable your poor judgment. Choose. Maya had chosen her daughter, and her mother had chosen to erase them both. Now Maya was 26 years old, alone with $847 in her checking account, no job because she'd been fired from the boutique when her pregnancy started showing, no apartment because she'd been living with her parents, and a newborn who would need everything. Diapers, formula, clothes, doctor visits, a place to sleep that wasn't a shelter or a car. The social worker had been kind but clear. Without family support, without income, without housing, Maya would need to apply for assistance. She'd given Maya a stack of forms and pamphlets for programs that sounded like lifelines but felt like admissions of failure. The nurse came in to discharge them. She looked at Maya with the practiced sympathy of someone who'd seen this scenario play out too many times. "Do you have a ride? Transportation arranged?" Maya nodded, though she'd taken an Uber to the hospital 4 days ago when her water broke and had no idea how she'd get wherever she was going next. The nurse handed her a diaper bag, donated by the hospital auxiliary, filled with enough supplies for maybe 3 days. "There are resources," she said gently. "You don't have to do this alone." But Maya was alone, completely alone. Her father had died when she was 16. Her older brother David lived in Singapore, building his tech empire, and hadn't spoken to her in 6 months, not since she'd told the family about the pregnancy, about the father who'd disappeared the moment she'd said she was keeping the baby, about her refusal to have an abortion or give up the child. Maya named her daughter Lily after her grandmother who'd died when Maya was 12. The only person in her family who'd ever made her feel like she mattered for who she was, not what she achieved. She signed the birth certificate with shaking hands, writing her own name in the parent section, just hers. No father listed because he'd made it clear he wanted nothing to do with them. The cab driver who finally agreed to take them charged her $40 to drive to the YMCA shelter downtown. Maya clutched Lily and the diaper bag and her purse containing everything she owned that mattered. A change of clothes, her phone with 15% battery, and a photograph of her grandmother smiling on a beach somewhere in California. The shelter was full. They put her name on a waiting list and suggested she try the Women's Center on Maple Street. That place was full too. By the time the sun started setting, Maya had been to 4 shelters, 3 churches, and 2 community centers. Everyone was sympathetic. Everyone was sorry. Everyone was full. She ended up in a 24-hour diner, nursing a cup of coffee she could barely afford, while Lily slept in the carrier she'd borrowed from the hospital. The waitress, maybe 45 with kind eyes and tired feet, kept refilling Maya's cup without charging her. Around midnight, she sat down across from Maya. "Rough day?" Maya laughed, though it came out closer to a sob. "Rough week, rough year, rough life." The waitress pulled out her phone. "My sister runs a boarding house on the East Side. Nothing fancy, but it's clean and safe. She usually charges $400 a month, but for someone in need, she might work something out. Could you make $250? Maya did the math in her head. She had enough for 3 months if she didn't eat much, if Lily stayed healthy, if nothing went wrong. Yes, thank you. The boarding house was a converted Victorian that had seen better decades. Peeling paint, sagging porch, bars on the first-floor windows, But the room was clean, just barely, with a twin bed, a hot plate, and a bathroom she'd share with 3 other residents. It was $250 a month, first and last month due immediately. Maya handed over $500, half her remaining money, and carried Lily upstairs. The room was maybe 10 by 12 feet. The wallpaper was stained, the carpet threadbare, the single window looked out at a brick wall 3 feet away. But it was theirs, a door that locked, a roof that didn't leak, a place to figure out what came next. She lay awake that first night, Lily sleeping on her chest, because there was no crib, no bassinet, nothing but the bed, and Maya's fear that she'd roll over and hurt her. She stared at the water-stained ceiling and wondered what she'd done. Not having Lily, that was the one choice she'd never regret. But everything else, the mistakes that had led her here, dropping out of Juilliard in her second year because she'd fallen in love with a man who promised her the world and delivered nothing but heartbreak, working retail jobs that barely paid rent, crawling back to her parents when she had nowhere else to go, accepting their judgment and disappointment because at least she had a bed, and then getting pregnant by a man she'd known for 3 months, who'd seemed different, seemed real, but had turned out to be just another person who disappeared when things got hard. The letter arrived 6 weeks later, forwarded from her parents' address to the boarding house through a process that involved 3 forms and a small miracle. Maya almost threw it away, assuming it was junk mail or maybe a bill for something she couldn't pay. But the envelope was thick, expensive paper, her name written in elegant calligraphy. Maya Lee Chen. She opened it carefully, Lily asleep in the carrier at her feet. Dear Miss Chen, I am writing on behalf of the estate of Vivian Reeves, who passed away on October 18, 2024. According to her last will and testament, executed in 2019 and updated most recently in June of this year, you have been named as the sole beneficiary of her property located at 1847 Harmony Lane in the township of Riverside, approximately 60 miles north of your current location. Maya read the paragraph 3 times. Vivian Reeves. The name was familiar but distant, something from childhood. Her grandmother's best friend, maybe. Someone who'd visited when Maya was very young, who'd sent birthday cards until Maya's teenage years, who'd drifted into the background of memory. The letter continued. The property consists of a 3-story commercial building, formerly used as a violin-making workshop and music school, built in 1903, sitting on a 1/4-acre lot. The structure has been unoccupied for approximately 15 years and is in significant disrepair. Mrs. Reeves left specific instructions that the property be transferred to you immediately upon her death, along with a personal note which I have enclosed. Maya's hands trembled as she unfolded the second piece of paper. The handwriting was shaky but determined. Maya, you won't remember me, but I remember you. The little girl with the violin playing at your grandmother's funeral, making something beautiful even while your heart was breaking. That was the day I decided. If I outlived your grandmother, if I made it to the end, everything I'd built would be yours. Not because of blood, we're not related. Not because of obligation, but because I saw something in you that reminded me of myself at your age. The belief that music could save you, the willingness to try even when the world said you'd fail. Your grandmother told me about your acceptance to Juilliard. She was so proud. I followed your life after she passed, through the small-town newspaper that printed your achievements, through the occasional Facebook post before you deleted your account. I know you left music behind. I know you've struggled. I know your family cast you out for having a child. I know because I lived a similar story 70 years ago. The building I'm leaving you was my sanctuary, the place I built after my family disowned me for marrying the wrong man, for choosing art over wealth, for living life on my terms. It's not much now. The roof leaks, the floors are warped, the neighborhood has declined. But it's paid for, and it's yours. Do with it what you need. Sell it for whatever it's worth. Live in it if you're brave enough, or let it stand as proof that someone saw you, Maya.
If you find this story engaging, please take a moment to subscribe and enable notifications. It helps us continue producing in-depth content like this.
Someone knew you were worth more than they said you were. With love from a stranger who understands, Vivian. Maya read the letter 5 times, tears streaming down her face. Lily woke and started crying, hungry, and Maya fed her while staring at those words. Someone saw you. Someone knew you were worth more. The attorney's number was at the bottom of the first letter. Maya called the next morning. Miss Chen, the voice belonged to a woman named Patricia Winters. I'm so glad you called. Mrs. Reeves was very specific about her wishes. The property is yours, free and clear. No mortgage, no liens, just significant deferred maintenance. I'll be honest with you, the building needs extensive work, probably $60,000 minimum to make it habitable. And the neighborhood, it's not dangerous, but it's economically depressed. Property values are low. You could sell it as is for maybe $15,000, maybe $20,000 if you find the right buyer. But Mrs. Reeves hoped you'd see it first before making any decisions. $15,000. Not life-changing money, but enough to survive for 6 more months. Maybe a year if Maya was careful. She should sell it, take the money, find a better apartment, get stable. But something in Vivian's letter, the phrase, brave enough, had planted a seed. The next day, Maya strapped Lily into the carrier, took the bus as far as it went, then walked the last 2 miles to Riverside. The town was small, maybe 5,000 people, with a main street that looked like it had peaked in 1950 and been declining ever since. Empty storefronts, faded signs, buildings that leaned slightly like elderly people too tired to stand straight. But there were also signs of life. A coffee shop with customers, a bookstore with a handwritten sign advertising a poetry reading, a community garden with vegetables growing in neat rows. 1847, Harmony Lane was at the far end of town, where commercial gave way to half-abandoned industrial. The building was 3 stories of brick and timber, with tall windows on all floors, and a front door that looked like it had once been beautiful, but was now hanging on one hinge. The roof sagged in the middle. Vines covered most of the western wall. The front steps had crumbled away entirely. Maya stood on the sidewalk, Lily asleep against her chest, staring at what was supposed to be her inheritance. It looked like a building waiting to collapse, like it might fall down if she breathed on it too hard. But through one of the broken windows she could see inside. Open space, high ceilings, light filtering through decades of dust. And something else, something she couldn't quite name. Possibility, maybe. The key Patricia had mailed her fit in the lock, though it took several tries and both hands to turn it. The door scraped open, protesting years of disuse. Maya stepped inside and stopped. The ground floor was enormous, maybe 4,000 square feet of open workshop space. Long wooden tables ran down the center, covered in dust and tools she didn't recognize. Vices and clamps and delicate instruments for shaping wood. Along the walls, racks that must have held wood for instruments. Empty now, but you could see where decades of lumber had rested. Light came through the tall windows, illuminating dust motes that danced like snow. And everywhere, the ghosts of music. Sheet music scattered across tables, a bow hanging on the wall, a broken violin in the corner, its neck snapped but its body still intact. The air smelled like old wood and varnish and something underneath, something that might have been rosin or might have been time itself. Maya walked through slowly, carefully, testing floorboards that groaned but held. At the back of the workshop she found stairs leading up. The second floor had been music rooms, 6 small spaces with doors that were mostly still attached, each room sized for a teacher and a student. The walls were thin, covered in soundproofing material that had deteriorated into strips. Maya could imagine it, the sound of violins being taught, scales and exercises, and eventually melodies all blending together into a symphony of learning. The third floor was an apartment, 2 rooms, a bathroom, a kitchenette with appliances from the 1980s. The furniture was still there, covered in sheets. A bed frame, a table, chairs, a sofa that had seen better decades but was structurally sound. The windows looked out over Riverside, over the rooftops and trees, and the distant mountains beyond. It was beautiful in a broken way. Lily woke and started fussing. Maya fed her while sitting in one of the third-floor rooms, looking out at the town. She did the math in her head. She had maybe $300 left after rent and diapers and formula. The building was worth $15,000 if she sold it immediately, but if she lived here, if she fixed it up, if she could make it work, she wouldn't need to pay rent. That $300 could go further, could buy diapers for months, could give her time to figure out childcare, find a job, build something. It was completely insane. The building was barely standing. She had no money for repairs, no skills to do them herself, and a newborn who needed stability, not an adventure in a collapsing building. She should sell it. Any rational person would sell it. But Maya hadn't been rational in years. Rational would have meant staying at Juilliard even after her heart broke. Rational would have meant giving up Lily when everyone said she couldn't do it alone. Rational would have meant accepting that she deserved nothing more than whatever scraps her family was willing to throw her, and Maya was done being rational. She was going to be brave instead. The hardware store was called Morrison's and looked like it had been there since the building on Harmony Lane was new. The owner, a man in his 60s with kind eyes and hands scarred from a lifetime of work, listened as Maya explained what she needed. Roof tarps to stop the leaks, basic tools to make repairs, wood to rebuild the front steps. He rang up the total, $247. Maya's heart sank. She had $300 left. If she spent $250 on repairs, she'd have $50 for everything else. Diapers, formula, food. It wasn't enough. "I can't," she started to say, but he held up a hand. "You're fixing up the old Reeves place?" "Yes, Vivian left it to me." He smiled, something sad and knowing. "Vivian was a good woman, taught my daughter violin when she was young, changed her life." He looked at Lily sleeping in the carrier. "Your baby?" "Yes, her name's Lily." He was quiet for a moment, then grabbed a piece of paper and started writing. "Here's what we're going to do. You take what you need, tools, tarps, wood, nails, whatever, and you pay me back when you can. No interest, no pressure, just when the building's fixed and you're stable." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know when that will be. Neither do I. But Vivian believed in second chances. Seems right that I should do the same." Over the next 2 weeks, Maya worked on the building during the day while Lily slept. She patched the roof with tarps, stopping the worst of the leaks. She rebuilt the front steps using wood and a YouTube tutorial on basic carpentry. She cleaned, scrubbing decades of dust and grime until her hands bled. At night, she and Lily slept on the third floor on a mattress she'd found on the curb, carrying it 6 blocks because she couldn't afford movers. They had heat from a space heater Morrison had added to her tab. They had light from bulbs she'd screwed in herself. They had running water, though it came out rust-colored for the first few minutes. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. The neighbors started coming around. Mrs. Kowalski from the corner store brought groceries, claiming she'd over-ordered. Marcus from the bookstore donated a box of baby clothes his grandchildren had outgrown. Elena, who ran the coffee shop, offered Maya a job, 10 hours a week at minimum wage, with Lily welcome to come along. It wasn't charity exactly. It was community. People who saw someone trying and decided to help instead of judge. But there were others too. The landlord who owned the building next door stopped by, looking at Maya's work with an expression that mixed interest and concern. "You planning to reopen the workshop?" "I don't know yet. Just trying to make it livable." He handed her a business card. "I'll give you $30,000 for the building as is. That's more than twice what you'd get from anyone else. I've got plans for this block, and your property fits into them." Maya looked at the card. $30,000. That was real money. That was stability. You should think about it. A young mother alone, this neighborhood, this building, it's too much for one person. "I'll think about it," she said, though she already knew the answer. She wasn't selling, not yet. Not until she knew what Vivian had really left her. The discovery happened by accident. Maya was on the second floor, cleaning one of the old teaching rooms when Lily started crying. She set down the mop and went to pick her up from the carrier she'd left in the hallway, and as she turned, her foot hit a loose board. It wasn't unusual. Half the boards on the second floor were loose, but this one didn't just give slightly. It broke completely, her foot plunging through into darkness below. Maya pulled her leg out carefully, checking for injury. Just a scrape, nothing serious. But the hole revealed something underneath the floor. Not just foundation or subfloor, but space. A gap between the second floor and the ceiling of the first. Why would there be space there? She grabbed her flashlight and shone it through the hole. The beam caught something metallic, something that definitely wasn't supposed to be between floors. Maya spent the next hour carefully removing more boards, creating an opening large enough to see clearly. And there, hidden in the space that shouldn't exist, was a door. Not a regular door, a vault door. Heavy steel, maybe 4 feet tall and 3 feet wide, built into the brick wall that separated the building from the property next door. It had a combination lock, the old-fashioned kind with a dial, and a handle that looked like it hadn't been turned in decades. Maya's heart pounded as she cleared away more flooring, creating access to the vault. The door was painted to match the brick around it, camouflaged so perfectly that you'd never see it, unless you knew where to look, or unless you fell through the floor. She tried the handle, locked, obviously. She examined the combination dial. It went from 0 to 99, 4 numbers probably, but she had no idea what they might be. Maya spent the rest of the day searching the building for clues, for anything that might tell her what Vivian had hidden. She found old business records in a filing cabinet on the 3rd floor. Reeves Music Workshop, established 1967. Orders for violins, repairs, teaching schedules from decades ago. She found photographs of Vivian, young and vibrant, standing in front of the building with a sign reading Grand Opening. More photos of students, of concerts, of a life built around music and craftsmanship. And she found a notebook, leather-bound and worn, tucked into a drawer in what had been Vivian's office. The first entry was dated November 1967. "Today I opened the workshop. My husband said I was crazy. My family said I'd fail. The bank said a woman couldn't run a business alone. But here I am, doing it anyway." The last entry was from June 2024, just months before Vivian's death. "The vault is ready. Everything I built, everything I saved, everything I couldn't tell anyone about. It's all there, waiting for her, for Maya. When she finds it, she'll know what to do." The combination is the answer to 4 questions. When was beauty born from nothing? When did love make everything possible? When did music save me? When did I finally learn to fly? Maya read the entry 3 times, her mind racing. These weren't dates. They were moments, memories, things that had meaning to Vivian, but that Maya had no way of knowing. She was about to give up when she noticed something written in the margin of the page, so small she'd missed it first. "Ask Morrison. He remembers everything." The next morning, Maya walked to the hardware store with Lily strapped to her chest. Morrison was restocking screws when she entered, and he smiled at seeing them. "How's the building coming?" "Better, making progress." She pulled out the notebook, open to Vivian's last entry. "Mr. Morrison, how well did you know Vivian?" "Very well." "Why?" "I found something in the building, something hidden, and this note says you might know how to help me." He read the entry carefully, his expression growing distant. "When was beauty born from nothing?" "That's easy. 1967, when she opened the workshop. Everyone said it was a dump, said no one would come. But Vivian turned it into something beautiful. Students came from 3 counties to study with her. When did love make everything possible? 1971. That's when her husband Thomas invented a new type of violin varnish. Changed the whole industry. Made them wealthy overnight, though you'd never know it to look at them. They lived simply. When did music save me? Morrison was quiet for a long moment. 1989. Vivian's daughter Emily died in a car accident. Only 23 years old, a violinist like her mother, Vivian nearly died from grief, but she kept teaching, kept making instruments, said music was the only thing that kept her breathing. That was 1989. And when did I learn to fly? Morrison smiled. 2003. That's when Thomas died. Cancer. They'd been married 52 years. Everyone expected Vivian to fall apart, but she didn't. She said Thomas had taught her that freedom came from letting go. She sold their house, paid off all debts, and said she was flying solo from then on. 2003. Maya wrote down the numbers. 67, 71, 89, 03. But what order? And were they full years or just the last two digits? She thanked Morrison and hurried back to the building. The vault door waited in its hidden space, silent and patient. Maya tried different combinations, different orders. 67, 71, 89, 03. Nothing. 03, 89, 71, 67. Nothing. She tried full years. 1967 to 1971, 1989, 2003. The dial didn't go that high. She tried every variation she could think of, and with each failure, her frustration grew. Lily started crying, hungry and tired. Maya fed her while sitting on the floor of the second story, staring at the vault door through the hole in the floorboards. Think like Vivian. What would matter to her? Then it hit her. The questions weren't in chronological order, they were in emotional order. What came first in Vivian's heart? Love. Love made everything possible. That was the foundation. Then beauty, because love created the space to build. Then grief, because music saved her when loss threatened to destroy her. And finally freedom, when she learned to fly. 71, 67, 89, 03. Maya climbed down to the vault and turned the dial. Right to 71. A soft click. Left to 67. Another click. Right to 89. Click. Left to 03. The final click was louder, definitive. Maya pulled the handle and the vault door swung open with surprising ease, revealing darkness beyond. She grabbed her flashlight and shone it into the space. What she saw made her knees weak. The vault wasn't large, maybe 6 feet by 8 feet, but every inch was filled. Metal shelves lined both sides, and what covered those shelves took Maya's breath away. Cash, stacks of $100 bills bound with paper bands, bonds, bearer bonds in denominations she could barely comprehend, stock certificates, old paper documents for companies Maya recognized, and boxes, small wooden boxes that when opened revealed jewelry, not costume jewelry, but real pieces, diamonds, gold, gemstones that caught the flashlight beam and threw back rainbow fire. On the back wall hung a painting, small but exquisite, signed in the corner, Monet. Maya didn't know art, but she knew that name. And beneath the painting, resting on a small shelf like an altar, was a violin. Not just any violin. Even Maya, who hadn't played in 5 years, could see it was extraordinary. The varnish glowed in the flashlight beam, the wood grain visible and perfect. The label inside read, Vivian Reeves, 1970. Maya stood in front of the open vault, Lily sleeping in the carrier on her back, and felt the world tilt. This wasn't $15,000, this wasn't even $30,000. This was a fortune, an impossible fortune, hidden in a collapsing building in a dying town, waiting for someone to find it, waiting for her. There was a letter tucked into the violin case. Maya opened it with shaking hands. Maya, if you're reading this, you found it. Good. You're braver than I thought, and I thought pretty highly of you. What you're looking at is 63 years of work. Thomas and I invented that varnish in 1971, sold the patent for $3 million back when that was real money. Everyone expected us to buy a mansion, join the country club, act like newly wealthy people were supposed to act. Instead, we invested every penny. Stocks, bonds, real estate, art. We bought when others panicked, held when others sold, built wealth slowly and carefully. By 2003, when Thomas died, we had $87 million. No one knew. Not our family, not our friends. We lived in the same small house, drove the same old car, ran the same workshop, because money wasn't the point. Freedom was. By 2024, when the cancer finally caught me, the portfolio had grown to $331 million, all of it hidden, all of it protected, all of it waiting. I put it in this vault in 2019 after I wrote my will leaving you the building. I knew if I left you money directly, your family would contest it. They'd claim undue influence, fight for years, drain the accounts in legal fees. But property? A broken-down building nobody wanted? They'd ignore that. Let you have the worthless workshop and feel magnanimous about it. I was right, wasn't I? They cast you out and didn't look back, so here's what I'm giving you instead of their pity. A choice. You can take this fortune and disappear, sell everything, convert it to cash, start over somewhere new with more money than you can spend in 10 lifetimes. No one would blame you. Or you can do what Thomas and I never did. You can use it. Build something, help people, turn this broken building into something beautiful again. I'm not telling you which to choose. Both paths are valid. Both paths are yours to walk. Just know this. The fortune is yours legally and completely. I moved it into bearer instruments specifically so possession equals ownership. The cash, the bonds, the jewelry, all untraceable. The stocks and real estate are in a trust that transfers to you automatically upon my death. Patricia has all the documents. It's yours, Maya. All $331 million. Do with it what you will. And know that somewhere I'm cheering for you. With love and hope, Vivian. Maya read the letter twice, 3 times, until the words stopped making sense. $331 million. The number was so large it felt abstract, impossible, like someone had written it in a story rather than reality. She climbed out of the vault and sat on the floor of the 2nd story, Lily sleeping against her chest, surrounded by broken floorboards and dust and the ghost of music that had once filled this place. She was 26 years old, cast out by her family, living in a collapsing building with a 3-month-old baby and $50 in her pocket, and she'd just inherited a fortune that would make her family's wealth look like pocket change. The laugh that came out of her was half sob, half triumph. Her family had been so certain she'd fail, so confident that she'd come crawling back, begging for help. And here she was, sitting on top of $331 million, hidden in a building they didn't even know existed. The irony was so perfect, it hurt. Maya's first instinct was to call Patricia, verify that this was legal, that it was real, but she stopped herself. What if there were people watching? What if someone had tracked Vivian's money, waiting to see where it ended up? She needed to be careful, needed to think this through. Instead, she took inventory. She counted the cash, $13 million in stacks of hundreds, all dated before 2015. The bearer bonds totaled $74 million. The jewelry, when she examined it more carefully, included pieces that were clearly antique. A diamond necklace, a ruby bracelet, emerald earrings. She had no idea what they were worth, but even her untrained eye could see they were valuable. The stock certificates were for companies like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, original shares purchased decades ago, now worth astronomical amounts. The real estate documents showed properties in 4 states, commercial buildings, residential complexes, undeveloped land. The list went on, each item carefully documented in a ledger Vivian had left in the vault. Total portfolio value as of June 2024, Vivian had written at the bottom, cash and bearer bonds, $87 million, jewelry and precious metals, $19 million, stocks and securities, $182 million, real estate holdings, $42 million, art collection, $1 million, total $331 million, all yours. Use it well. Maya closed the ledger and looked at Lily, sleeping peacefully despite the magnitude of what was happening around her. This money could change everything, could give Lily every opportunity Maya had lost, could provide security for generations. could make them untouchable by the family that had cast them out, but it also made them targets, made them vulnerable in ways Maya was only beginning to understand. She needed help, she needed advice, and she needed to make sure no one knew about this until she was ready. The next morning, Maya covered the vault carefully, replacing the floorboards and making the hidden door invisible again. She took only what she needed immediately, $10,000 in cash, split into bundles she could hide around the apartment. The rest stayed locked away, protected by combination and secrecy, and the building everyone thought was worthless. Then she called Patricia. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth." Patricia's voice was cautious. "All right. The building Vivian left me, is it really mine? Completely mine? No strings, no conditions? It's yours, free and clear. Title transferred upon her death. Why? Because I found something significant, and I need to know who else might know about it." Silence on the line. Then Patricia said quietly, "I think you should come to my office. We need to talk in person." The meeting happened the next day. Patricia's office was in the city, an hour's bus ride with Lily. Patricia was younger than Maya expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes and sharper suits. She listened as Maya explained what she'd found, nodding occasionally but not looking surprised. "You knew," Maya said. "You knew about the vault. I knew Vivian had assets beyond what she disclosed publicly. I helped her create the legal structures to protect them, but I didn't know the specific amount or location until you just told me. Is it legal for me to have it?" "Completely legal. Vivian created an irrevocable trust in 2019, naming you as sole beneficiary. The trust holds the stocks and real estate, the bearer instruments, cash, bonds, and jewelry. Those transfer automatically to whoever possesses them. Since they were hidden in your property and Vivian explicitly gave you that property, they're legally yours. What about taxes? The property transferred at stepped-up basis. The trust paid all applicable estate taxes before distribution. The bearer instruments are tax-free as far as the government knows because they don't know you have them. You'll pay capital gains when and if you sell anything, but possession itself isn't taxable." Vivian was very thorough. Maya felt dizzy. "So I can just keep it? Use it?" Patricia leaned forward. "You can keep it, use it, or burn it. It's yours. But I need to warn you about something. Vivian's family tried to contest her will in 2019. They claimed she was mentally incompetent, tried to get control of her assets. The court dismissed the case, but they were very aggressive about it. If they find out about this fortune, they'll come after you too. What should I do?" Patricia pulled out a business card. "This is a wealth manager I trust. She specializes in helping people who come into money suddenly. She'll help you create structures to protect it. Invest it properly. Make it work for you instead of against you. And this," she handed over another card, "is a private investigator. If anyone starts asking questions about Vivian's assets, he'll know and can help you prepare." Maya took the cards with shaking hands. Why did she choose me? Why not her own family? Patricia was quiet for a moment. Vivian's daughter Emily died in 1989. Her son Jack died in 2001, drug overdose. Her husband died in 2003. She had no grandchildren, no close family left, just siblings and cousins who'd written her off decades ago when she married beneath her class. She watched you from a distance, Maya, after your grandmother died, after you went to Juilliard, after you dropped out and struggled and had Lily. She saw herself in you, and she decided you deserved what she'd built, not because you earned it, but because she wanted to give someone the chance she'd had. To build something from nothing, to survive when everyone said you'd fail. Maya left Patricia's office with 2 business cards, a head full of information, and a fortune she still couldn't quite believe was real. She took the bus home, Lily sleeping against her chest, watching the city pass by. For the first time in months, Maya wasn't thinking about how to pay next month's rent or where her next meal would come from. She was thinking bigger. What if she reopened the workshop? What if she made instruments again, taught music again, turned the broken building into something beautiful? What if she used Vivian's fortune not to escape, but to rebuild? Not just her life, but the community, the town that had helped her when she had nothing. The idea grew over the next few weeks. Maya met with the wealth manager, a woman named Sarah who was patient and thorough, and never once made Maya feel stupid for not understanding financial terms. Together they created a plan. They'd liquidate half the bearer bonds, $40 million, and use them to establish a foundation. The foundation would fund the workshop's renovation and create programs to help other single mothers, other people cast out by their families, other artists who needed a second chance. The rest of the fortune, nearly $300 million, they'd invest conservatively, generate income to fund the foundation in perpetuity, make sure Lily never wanted for anything, create generational wealth that couldn't be taken away. But they'd do it quietly, carefully, through layers of trusts and LLCs that obscured Maya's ownership, because Sarah agreed with Patricia. If Vivian's family found out, they'd come hunting. The renovation started in March. Maya hired a contractor from Riverside, a woman named Deborah who specialized in historic preservation. Deborah walked through the building, took measurements, and gave Maya a number: $350,000 for everything. New roof, new floors, updated electrical and plumbing, restored facade, converted apartments on the third floor. It was more than Maya had expected, but less than she could afford. She signed the contract the same day. As work began, the town watched with curiosity and hope. The building on Harmony Lane had been an eyesore for 15 years. Seeing it come back to life brought something else back to life too. Pride, maybe, or possibility. Morrison stopped by with free paint. Elena from the coffee shop organized a volunteer day to clean the grounds. Marcus donated books for the music library Maya was planning. Over the next 6 months, the building transformed. The roof was replaced, solid and waterproof. The floors were refinished, beautiful hardwood that glowed when light hit it right. The teaching rooms were soundproofed properly this time, with modern materials that actually worked. The workshop space on the first floor became half instrument making and half community space, with tables for teaching and walls for displaying student work. The third floor became 2 apartments, one for Maya and Lily, beautiful and bright with windows overlooking the mountains, one for visiting artists, musicians who needed a place to stay while they taught or performed or just needed refuge. And throughout the building, carefully hidden behind walls and beneath floors, Maya installed a security system that would rival a bank. Because the vault was still there, still full, still protected by combination and concrete and secrecy, Maya left most of the fortune locked away. She took only what she needed for immediate use, only what wouldn't raise questions if someone investigated her finances. The foundation launched quietly in September. No press release, no announcement, just a website and a simple mission statement: to provide housing, job training, and artistic education to single parents and their children, specifically mothers who'd been cast out by their families, women who'd been told they were worthless, people who needed proof that one person's judgment didn't define their future. Applications came slowly at first, then faster. Maya reviewed each one personally, looking for something specific. Not perfection, but perseverance. Not success, but survival. The first family moved into the transitional housing in October. Jessica, 23. With a 2-year-old son and a history of abuse, she'd finally escaped. Maya gave her a rent-free apartment for 6 months, child-care assistance, and a job at the workshop helping with administration. Jessica cried when she signed the agreement, certain it was too good to be true. But it was true because Maya remembered what it felt like to need help and find none. More families followed. By December, Maya had helped 11 families get back on their feet, and she'd reopened the teaching studios. She hired 3 music instructors, all women, all with stories of struggle and survival. They taught violin, piano, guitar. They charged on a sliding scale with full scholarships available for anyone who asked. Lily's first birthday passed in a blur of renovation dust and foundation work and teaching sessions that filled the building with music again. Maya made a small cake and sang happy birthday in the apartment that still smelled like fresh paint. Lily smashed her face into the frosting, laughing, and Maya took pictures with tears streaming down her face. 1 year ago, she'd been discharged from the hospital with no money, no home, no support. Now she was living in a building she owned, running a foundation, helping dozens of families, and sitting on a fortune that would ensure Lily never experienced the poverty Maya had survived. The reckoning came in January, 18 months after Vivian's death. Maya was in the workshop, teaching a young student how to hold the bow properly, when the door opened and 3 people walked in. She recognized them from photographs. Vivian's siblings, Gerald and Patricia Reeves, both in their 80s now, and with them a lawyer carrying a briefcase that screamed expensive. Maya set down the violin and stood. "Can I help you?" Gerald stepped forward, his voice cold. "You're Maya Chen, the one who inherited Vivian's property." "That's right." Patricia Reeves, not the attorney Patricia, but Vivian's sister, looked around the workshop with barely concealed disgust. "Our sister leaves you a derelict building and somehow you renovate it into this." "Interesting." The lawyer stepped forward. "Miss Chen, I represent the Reeves family estate. We're contesting the will. We believe undue influence was exerted, that our sister wasn't of sound mind, and that you manipulated her into leaving you property rightfully belonging to blood relatives." Maya had prepared for this moment, practiced it with her attorney. She kept her voice steady. "Your sister and I never met as adults. I couldn't have influenced her, and she was evaluated by 3 independent doctors who confirmed her mental competency. The will is unbreakable." The lawyer smiled, showing too many teeth. "The will, yes, but we're not here about the building. We're here about the money." Gerald leaned on his cane. Vivian had significant assets when she died. Stocks, bonds, real estate worth over $200 million. Those assets should have been distributed among her surviving siblings, not given to some stranger. "The trust that holds those assets names me as sole beneficiary," Maya said. "It was created in 2019, years before she died. Your sister wanted me to have them. She wanted you to have nothing because you treated her like nothing for 60 years. Patricia Reeves's expression hardened. "Watch your tongue, girl. We're offering you a settlement, $5 million. You sign over all rights to Vivian's estate. We drop the case. Everyone walks away happy. And if I refuse, then we make your life miserable. We'll challenge every decision you make with the foundation. We'll investigate every dollar you spend. We'll sue you for emotional distress, for stealing our sister's legacy, for anything we can think of. $5 million is more money than someone like you will ever see again. Take it." Maya looked at these people, wealthy and bitter and certain of their right to what Vivian had built. She thought about the vault hidden in the building, about the fortune they didn't even know existed. And she thought about Vivian's letter. "Use it well." "No deal," she said quietly. "I'm keeping everything Vivian left me. Every dollar, every property, every asset, because she wanted me to have it, and she specifically didn't want you to have it. That should tell you everything you need to know about your relationship with her." Gerald's face went purple. "You'll regret this. We'll bury you in legal fees. We'll expose you. We'll make sure everyone knows you're a gold digger who manipulated a dying woman. Do what you need to do," Maya said. "I'm not afraid of you." The lawyer started to respond, but Morrison appeared in the doorway, flanked by Deborah and Marcus and Elena and a dozen other townspeople. "Everyone all right in here?" Morrison's voice was casual, but his meaning clear. "Maya's got support." Gerald looked around at the assembled townspeople and seemed to recognize he'd made a miscalculation. "Come on," he said to his sister and the lawyer. "We'll handle this in court." After they left, Morrison approached Maya. "You okay?" Maya nodded, though her hands were shaking. "They're going to sue. Let them. Patricia, your attorney, Patricia, she's already prepared for this. We've got evidence of their previous attempt to challenge the will, their estrangement from Vivian, everything we need." He squeezed her shoulder. "You're not alone in this. The legal battle stretched across 6 months. The Reeves siblings threw everything at Maya. They hired expensive lawyers, filed motion after motion, demanded depositions and evaluations and audits. But Patricia was ready. She had Vivian's medical records proving competency. She had testimony from Morrison and others who'd known Vivian, confirming she'd been of sound mind. She had evidence of the siblings' previous attempt to challenge her mental state, proving a pattern of greed. And she had something else, a video. Vivian had recorded it in 2024, 3 months before her death, specifically to prevent this kind of challenge. In the video, she sat in her living room, clearly herself, clearly competent, and explained in detail why she was leaving everything to Maya instead of to her siblings. "They abandoned me when I married Thomas. They called me a fool for choosing love over money. Ironically, love made me wealthier than any of them, but they never knew because they never cared enough to ask. I'm leaving my estate to Maya Chen because she reminds me that courage matters more than blood, that choosing your own path, even when everyone says you're wrong, is the bravest thing you can do. If my siblings are watching this, know that I made this choice consciously, deliberately, joyfully. You're getting nothing because you gave me nothing, and Maya's getting everything because she deserves the chance I had." The judge watched the video in chambers with both legal teams present. When it ended, he looked at the Reeves siblings' lawyer. "Unless you have evidence that contradicts a clear, recent, videotaped testament from a woman evaluated as competent by 3 doctors, I'm dismissing this case." The lawyer had nothing. The case was dismissed with prejudice, meaning it couldn't be refiled. The Reeves siblings appealed, but the appeals court refused to hear the case. It was over. Maya had won. But the battle had revealed something important. The Reeves siblings had been digging into Vivian's finances, trying to trace assets. They knew about the trust, about some of the real estate. If they kept digging, they might find the vault's contents. Sarah, the wealth manager, called an emergency meeting. "We need to move the portable assets. The cash, the bonds, the jewelry. Convert them to registered instruments. Deposit them in proper accounts. Create a paper trail that shows you've had them all along. Otherwise, if someone finds them now, it looks like you hid them." Maya spent a week carefully moving the vault's contents. The cash went to 3 different banks, deposited in amounts small enough not to trigger reporting requirements. The bonds were converted to registered securities held in trust. The jewelry was appraised at $17 million and insured through a policy backdated to make it look like Maya had owned it since Vivian's death. Everything legal, everything documented, everything protected, and the vault itself, Maya converted it into something new. A time capsule filled with letters from the families she'd helped, photographs of the workshop's renovation, copies of Vivian's journals, and one item, the violin Vivian had made in 1970, the masterpiece that had rested in the vault for 5 years. Maya placed it carefully in a new case, added a letter of her own, and sealed the vault again. "For whoever finds this next," she wrote, "this building has been a sanctuary for people who needed second chances. First Vivian, then me, now you. Use what you find here to keep that tradition alive. Build something beautiful. Help someone who needs it. And remember, that family is who chooses you, not who shares your blood." The workshop thrived. By its 3rd year, Maya had helped 47 families rebuild their lives. She'd provided housing, job training, childcare, and education to over 100 people. The teaching studios were fully booked, with waiting lists for most instructors, and the instrument workshop had reopened with 3 craftspeople making violins using techniques Vivian had developed. They weren't as wealthy as they could have been. Maya had given away or invested most of the fortune in ways that generated social return rather than financial return. But the foundation's endowment was over $200 million, enough to fund operations in perpetuity. Lily was 4 now, tall and curious and fearless. She took violin lessons in the same rooms where Vivian had taught, played with children whose mothers were rebuilding lives, and absorbed the lesson Maya worked to teach her every day. You are valuable not because of what you have, but because of what you give. One evening in late summer, Maya stood on the roof of the workshop, watching the sun set over Riverside. The town had changed in 3 years. New businesses had opened, drawn by the success of the workshop and foundation. Property values had risen slightly, enough to help existing residents, but not enough to displace them. People talked about Riverside as a town with hope again, with a future, and it was all because one woman had believed in second chances, had built a fortune in secret, had hidden it in a collapsing building, had trusted that when the right person found it, they'd know what to do. Morrison joined her on the roof, moving slowly. His arthritis was worse this year, but he refused to slow down. "Quite a view," he said. "It is. You ever regret it? Not taking the money and running?" Maya smiled. "Every day. And then I walk through the building and see families that would be homeless without this place. Kids learning music who'd never have the chance otherwise. Women rebuilding lives everyone said were too broken to fix. And I remember why Vivian chose me. Not to make me rich, but to make me useful. That's a better inheritance than money ever could be." They stood together as the sun disappeared and the first stars appeared, and Maya felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the peace of having no problems, but the peace of knowing that the problems she had mattered, that the work she did changed lives, that the fortune Vivian built was being used exactly as Vivian hoped. $331 million turned into hope for people who'd been told they deserved none. Below them, the workshop glowed with light and vibrated with music. Somewhere inside, Lily was playing scales on a violin that needed tuning. Families were having dinner in apartments that used to be empty. Teachers were preparing tomorrow's lessons. And in the hidden vault, now empty except for memory and legacy, Vivian's final gift waited to be rediscovered by whatever future generation needed it most. The building that everyone said was worthless had become priceless, and the woman everyone said would fail had built something that would outlast them all. Maya Chen, cast out at 26 with nothing but a newborn and a prayer, had inherited more than money. She'd inherited purpose, and she'd used it to prove that the most valuable thing you can build isn't wealth. It's a life that matters. The call came on a Tuesday morning in October, 5 years after Maya had first opened the vault. She was in the workshop helping a student repair a cracked violin when her phone buzzed with a number she didn't recognize. She almost ignored it, but something made her answer. "Maya?" The voice was familiar and foreign all at once. Something from a life she'd left behind. "It's David, your brother." Maya's hands stopped moving. Lily, now 6 years old, was playing in the corner with 2 other children whose mothers were in the foundation's job training program. The workshop hummed with its usual activity, but suddenly everything felt distant, muffled, like Maya was underwater. "How did you get this number?" Her voice came out colder than she intended, but she didn't soften it. "I've been trying to reach you for months. Finally tracked down someone in Riverside who knew you. Maya, I need to talk to you in person. It's important. We have nothing to talk about. You haven't spoken to me in 6 years. You didn't even ask about Lily when she was born. I know." David's voice cracked slightly. "I know, and I'm sorry. But please, just give me an hour. I'm in Riverside right now, at the coffee shop on Main Street." Maya should have hung up, should have protected the life she'd built from the family that had destroyed her. But curiosity, or maybe some buried hope for reconciliation, made her pause. 1 hour, that's all you get. Elena's coffee shop was busy with the lunch crowd, But Maya spotted David immediately. He sat at a corner table looking smaller than she remembered, thinner. Her brother had always been tall and confident, the golden child who could do no wrong. Now he looked exhausted, his expensive suit hanging slightly loose, his eyes carrying shadows that reminded Maya of her own reflection from years ago. She approached without Lily. She'd left her daughter at the workshop with Morrison, who'd become something like a grandfather to them both. Whatever this conversation was, she wanted to face it alone. David stood when he saw her, started to reach for a hug, then stopped when he saw her expression. "Thank you for coming." He sat back down, gestured to the chair across from him. "Please." Maya sat, but didn't order anything. "You have 59 minutes. Talk." David took a breath, his hands wrapped around a coffee cup that had probably gone cold. "I've been following what you've done here, the foundation, the workshop, the families you've helped. It's incredible, Maya. You built something real. Don't." Maya's voice was sharp. "Don't come here after 6 years and think you can compliment your way into my life. You chose your side when I needed you most. When Mom disowned me and I was sleeping in a boarding house with a newborn, where were you? In Singapore, building my company, making excuses." David's eyes filled with tears he didn't try to hide. "I told myself it was complicated, that I couldn't get involved in family drama, that you'd figure it out." He looked directly at her. "I was wrong. I was a coward, and I've regretted it every day since." Maya wanted to hold on to her anger, but something in his voice, the genuine remorse, the way he looked broken in ways she recognized, made her hesitate. "Why are you here now?" "Because I lost everything." His laugh was bitter. "The tech company failed. Bad investments, worse partnerships, fraud I didn't see coming. I lost $200 million in 18 months. Had to declare bankruptcy. My wife left. Took our daughter to Australia. I can't even afford the lawyers to fight for visitation." Maya felt her chest tighten despite herself. "You have a daughter?" I had a daughter, Emma. She's 8. I haven't seen her in 6 months." David wiped his eyes roughly. "I came back to the States with nothing. Crashed at a friend's place in Boston, started looking for work. Everyone in tech knows my name now, knows I failed. No one will hire me. And you thought I'd give you money. Is that why you're here?" "No." David's voice was firm. "I'm here because I heard what you did with Mom when she came looking for help." Maya's blood went cold. "Mom was here 2 years ago. Didn't you know?" David pulled out his phone, showed her a Facebook post from a Riverside community group. It was a photograph of Maya helping an elderly woman carry groceries. The woman's face was turned away, but Maya recognized the expensive coat, the diamond earrings. She came to Riverside after Dad died. Heart attack. Sudden. She was alone, finally realized what she'd done by pushing everyone away. "She came here looking for you." David's voice was quiet. "You gave her a job at the foundation, administrative work. Didn't tell anyone who she was, just let her work alongside all the other women rebuilding their lives." Maya remembered. The woman had applied under her maiden name, Catherine Brooks. She'd been quiet, competent, never asked for special treatment. She'd worked at the foundation for 8 months before moving to Arizona to live with her sister. Maya had recognized her the moment she'd walked in for the interview, but something, maybe grace, maybe the lesson Vivian had taught her about second chances, had made Maya offer her the job anyway. "I didn't do it for her," Maya said softly. "I did it because everyone deserves a chance to rebuild, even people who don't deserve it. That's why I'm here. Not for money, for a chance." David leaned forward. "I want to work, Maya. I want to help. I have an MBA, 15 years of business experience, and a desperate need to prove I can do something meaningful with what's left of my life. The foundation must need someone who understands finance, operations, scaling. We have people for that. People who've built and lost a fortune. People who know what it's like to be cast out by everyone you trusted." David's voice was intense now, urgent. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for the same thing you gave Mom, a chance to be useful, to turn my failures into something that helps. instead of hurts. Maya studied her brother's face, seeing the genuine desperation there, the same desperation she'd carried 5 years ago. Vivian's words echoed in her mind. The best revenge is building something so beautiful that people forget what they were angry about. 40 hours a week, minimum wage. You answer to Sarah, the foundation director. You work alongside everyone else. No special treatment because you're my brother. In fact, everyone will know you're my brother. The one who abandoned me when I needed help. You'll have to earn their respect, the same way everyone else does. David's eyes filled with tears again. I'll take it. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Maya stood. This isn't forgiveness. This is an opportunity to prove you've changed. Don't waste it. Over the next 6 months, David worked harder than Maya had ever seen him work. He arrived early, stayed late, treated every task, no matter how small, like it mattered. He helped families navigate government assistance programs. He organized the foundation's financial records. He created systems to track outcomes and measure impact. And slowly, grudgingly, the community accepted him. Not because he was Maya's brother, but because he showed up every day and did the work without complaint. Morrison started inviting him to volunteer workdays. Elena began saving him coffee. The families in the transitional housing started trusting him with their stories. One evening, Maya found him on the workshop roof where she often went to think. He was staring at the sunset, his expression distant. Mom died last week, he said without preamble. Her sister called me. Heart failure, quick and painless. Maya sat beside him, processing the news. She'd spoken to her mother maybe 3 times after she'd left the foundation job. Brief conversations, polite but distant. The anger had faded, replaced by something sadder, acceptance that some relationships couldn't be fully repaired, only acknowledged and released. Are you okay? She asked. I don't know. David's voice was thick. I spent so many years chasing her approval, building companies she'd be proud of, making money to prove I was worth something, and it was all worthless in the end. He turned to Maya. You were the brave one. You chose Lily over her approval. You built something that mattered instead of something that looked impressive. I wish I'd learned that sooner. They sat in silence as the sun disappeared behind the mountains. Finally, David spoke again. Emma's coming to visit next month. First time since the divorce. His voice broke. I don't know what to tell her, how to explain why I haven't been there, why I lost everything. Tell her the truth, Maya said. Tell her you made mistakes and you're learning how to fix them. Tell her you're building something new, something real. And then she hesitated. Then bring her here. Let her meet Lily. Let her see what's possible when you choose to help instead of hide. The visit happened in November. Emma was 8, quiet and watchful, clearly uncertain about her father and this strange town he'd brought her to. But Lily, fearless and welcoming, took her hand immediately and pulled her into the workshop. Want to see the violin I'm learning to play? Want to meet the families who live here? Want to hear about the lady who left my mom this whole building? Maya watched her daughter lead her niece through the workshop, explaining everything with the earnest enthusiasm of a 6-year-old who believed the world was good and people were kind. And she saw Emma slowly relax, slowly smile, slowly begin to believe that maybe good things were still possible. That night, after Emma had gone to sleep in David's small apartment, he came to Maya's door. His eyes were red, but he was smiling. She asked if she could come back, if she could spend Christmas here, with me and with you and Lily. Maya felt something in her chest unclenched, some final piece of anger releasing. Of course she can. She's family. David hugged her then, really hugged her, and Maya let herself hug him back. It wasn't forgiveness, not completely, but it was something better. It was acceptance that people could change, that families could rebuild, that second chances could become third and fourth chances if you were brave enough to keep offering them. The Foundation's 5th anniversary celebration was held in December, the workshop decorated with lights and garlands. The community gathered to mark what they'd built together. 53 families helped since the beginning, over 200 people given job training, housing assistance, childcare support. 15 new businesses started by foundation graduates, 4 families who'd gone on to buy their own homes. Maya stood before the assembled crowd, Lily beside her holding her hand, and felt the weight of what Vivian had given her. Not just money, but purpose. Not just a building, but a blueprint for how to turn pain into possibility. 5 years ago, Maya began, I was told I was worthless, that I'd made too many mistakes, that I'd chosen wrong, that I deserved nothing but judgment and abandonment, and I believed it for a while. She looked at Lily, until someone I never met decided I was worth choosing. Vivian Reeves left me this building and the resources to rebuild my life. But more than that, she left me a lesson, that the measure of a life isn't what you accumulate, but what you give away. She gestured to the families in the room. Every person here has taught me something about courage, about surviving when survival seems impossible, about building beauty from broken pieces. You've taught me that family isn't who shares your blood, but who shows up when you need them, who believes in you when you can't believe in yourself. Maya's voice caught. This foundation exists because Vivian believed in second chances, because she knew that one person's failure doesn't define their future, that grace matters more than judgment, that love, real love, looks like giving someone the tools to build their own life instead of just giving them money and walking away. The applause was thunderous. People stood, some crying, most smiling. Maya saw David in the crowd, standing beside Morrison and Elena and all the people who'd become her chosen family. She saw the graduates, women who'd come through the program and stayed in Riverside, building lives and businesses and community. And she saw Lily, her daughter who would grow up knowing that she was wanted, knowing that family meant love and loyalty, knowing that the greatest gift you could give was the gift of believing in someone's potential. That night, after everyone had left and the workshop was dark and quiet, Maya went to the second floor. She knelt at the place where the vault was hidden, now sealed forever with the violin and her letter inside. "Thank you," she whispered to Vivian's ghost. "Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for teaching me that the best inheritance isn't money. It's the knowledge that you matter, that your life can change lives, that choosing courage over comfort always, always matters." She stood and walked to the window, looking out over Riverside. The town was thriving now, small businesses staying open late, streetlights illuminating sidewalks where people walked safely. The workshop glowed behind her, warm and alive with purpose. Maya Chen had been cast out with nothing, and she'd built everything that mattered, not because she had money, but because she'd learned what money was for, not accumulation, but transformation, not security, but service, not wealth, but worth. She thought about the families she'd helped, the lives she'd changed, the community she'd built. She thought about David earning his way back into relationship, about her mother who'd tried to rebuild before she died, about Lily growing up surrounded by proof that second chances were real. And she thought about Vivian, who'd spent 63 years building a fortune in secret just to give someone, anyone, the chance to do what she'd done. Build something beautiful from nothing, create hope where there'd been only despair, prove that one person's belief could change the trajectory of a life. The fortune was mostly gone now, transformed into programs and housing and scholarships and opportunities. But what remained was worth more than $300 million could ever be. It was proof that the cycle of judgment and abandonment could be broken, that families could be chosen and rebuilt, that worth wasn't measured in dollars, but in the lives you touched and the love you gave. Maya turned from the window and went upstairs to where Lily slept, Mr. Whiskers tucked under her arm even at 6 years old. She kissed her daughter's forehead and whispered, "You are wanted. You are loved. You are worth everything. Never let anyone tell you different." because that was the real inheritance. Not money, but worth. Not wealth, but the knowledge that you mattered. Not security, but the courage to believe that even when the world cast you out, you could build something beautiful anyway. And in the morning, Maya would wake up and do it all again. Help another family, teach another student, build another piece of the legacy Vivian had started, not because she had to, but because she'd learned the secret Vivian had known all along. The best way to honor being chosen is to choose others, again and again and again, until everyone knows what it feels like to matter. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.